Ready for a deep dive into the mind of Leonardo da Vinci? And no, we're not talking about the Mona Lisa, at least not in the way you might think.
That's right. Today, we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole, exploring Leonardo's fascination with something a little unexpected.
Mirrors.
Mirrors, huh? I have to admit, that's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Leonardo da Vinci.
Well, get ready to be surprised, because we're about to uncover how this fascination wasn't just some passing interest. It seems to have permeated his work, from his notebooks to his art, maybe even his anatomical studies.
Okay, now you've got my attention. So where do we even begin with a deep dive like this?
Well, we have to start by setting the stage, going back to the 1400s, the Renaissance.
A time of incredible intellectual and artistic flourishing.
Exactly. And Leonardo, he was right there in the thick of it, embodying the spirit of the age like no one else.
Right, he was the epitome of a Renaissance man. Painter, sculptor, inventor, scientist, you name it, he did it.
And did it brilliantly. But what really set him apart was his insatiable curiosity, a boundless desire to understand the world around him, even if it meant going against the grain or challenging the status quo.
Like dissecting human bodies in secret because the church frowned upon it.
Talk about dedication. But those anatomical drawings of his, they were groundbreaking, centuries ahead of their time.
And it's in his notebooks where we really start to see this mirror fascination emerge.
Oh, you mean those legendary notebooks filled with sketches and ideas that were light years ahead of anything else at the time?
The very same. And they're incredible, don't get me wrong. But there's a catch. Imagine opening these treasures of knowledge only to find much of it written in reverse.
Backwards, like he was writing for a secret society or something.
Oh, some might say so. And that's the mystery, isn't it? The most common explanation is that he was left-handed, and writing in reverse helped him avoid smudging ink.
Makes sense. But some scholars think it goes deeper than that.
Much deeper. Was he trying to protect his ideas from prying eyes?
Or maybe it was a way to brand himself, to stand out from the crowd.
Some even suggest it was a form of provocation, a way of challenging the way people saw the world. Remember, this was a time when artists were celebrities, and cultivating an air of mystery was all part of the game.
Intriguing. But what if it was even simpler than that? What if he was just fascinated by the act of reversal itself, of seeing things from a completely different perspective?
And that fascination, that play with reversed images, with optics and illusions, well, it wasn't confined to his notebooks. It might have found its way directly into his art.
Now that's a thought. Are we about to step into the world of Leonardo's paintings?
We are. Buckle up, because things are about to get very interesting.
So how does a fascination with mirrors translate into paintings exactly? Did Leonardo have some secret stash of Renaissance funhouse mirrors he used in his studio?
Well, not exactly, though I'm sure he would have appreciated the concept. No, the theory is that Leonardo might have used mirrors while painting, but as a tool to achieve specific effects.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Imagine him positioning a mirror strategically to reflect his subject or parts of the canvas back at himself. Some art historians believe he used this technique to play with things like symmetry and perspective in ways that would have been impossible otherwise.
Almost like a built-in Photoshop hack, but, centuries ahead of its time.
Precisely. And the most compelling piece of evidence for this theory might be a painting I'm sure you're familiar with, the Annunciation.
The one with the angel Gabriel delivering the news to Mary? Yeah, I think I've seen that one once or twice.
Right, seems pretty straightforward at first glance. But here's where things get interesting. If you mirror the right half of the image,
Let me guess. Something unexpected pops out.
you could say that. The mirrored background elements, when reflected, they line up in a way that reveals a hidden figure sitting on what looks like a throne.
Wait, seriously, there's a whole other figure just hiding in plain sight. How did I never notice that before?
It's not something you'd catch just by glancing at the painting. This theory really started to gain traction when people began experimenting with digitally mirroring images of Leonardo's work.
So what are we saying here? Was Leonardo intentionally hiding this figure? Was this some kind of Renaissance Easter egg?
It's hard to say for sure. Some scholars argue that the level of symmetry and the clarity of the figure point to a deliberate choice on Leonardo's part.
It's as if he's challenging us to look closer, to question what we see on the surface, kind of like he's playing with our perception.
Exactly. And it's that same playfulness, that mastery of optics and illusion, that some experts believe might have led to a rather glaring error in one of Leonardo's other famous works, the Salvator Mundi.
Salvator Mundi, remind me.
You know, the one with Christ holding the orb?
Oh, right, that one. I always thought something looked a little off. about that orb.
Well, you're not alone. You see, the orb is supposed to be a crystal sphere representing the celestial sphere.
But accept.
But here's the thing. It doesn't behave the way a crystal sphere should. It completely defies the laws of refraction.
Perfection.
How light bends when it passes from one medium to another, say, from air to glass. You know, like how a straw seems to bend when you put it in a glass of water?
Ah, right. Gotcha.
Leonardo, a master of optics, would have known this, which is why this seemingly simple error in the Salvator Mundi is so perplexing.
So what's the explanation? Was he having an off day? Did someone forget to buy more paint?
Unlikely. Some art historians suggest this error was actually a deliberate artistic choice.
So he's making a statement, maybe, like, yeah, I know the rules, but I can bend them if I want to.
Exactly. Or some scholars have even suggested it was a deliberate mistake, but as a teaching moment.
You mean leaving a little something for his students to puzzle over?
Precisely. Like, all right, guys, what's wrong with this picture? Knowing Leonardo, he loved to challenge conventional thinking, to make people really look twice.
Push the boundaries a little. Just like with those anatomical studies, it's like he's saying, don't just accept what you see on the surface, dig a little deeper.
Exactly. And that's what makes exploring his work so captivating, even after all these centuries. It's like he left these little breadcrumbs, these puzzles and paradoxes to draw us in, to make us think.
And here we are, still trying to figure it all out. So we've got this recurring theme of mirrors and reversals, this fascination with optics and perception. Was it all intentional? A deliberate artistic and intellectual choice? Or are we just finding patterns where there are none?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, we may never know for sure, but in a way, that's part of the allure, wouldn't you say? We're left to grapple with these mysteries, to come to our own conclusions.
He gives us the puzzle box, but it's up to us to find the combination.
Precisely. And in doing so, we're forced to confront our own assumptions, our own ways of seeing the world. And who knows, maybe that's exactly what Leonardo intended all along.
Maybe. So to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on Leonardo da Vinci.
The next time you see one of his works, take a moment. Really look at it.
Yeah, don't just glance and walk by.
Consider the composition, the details, the play of light and shadow.
You might be surprised at what you discover.
Who knows, you might even stumble upon a secret that Leonardo left waiting to be found.
Now that's a challenge I can get behind.